Good morning, folks.
Good morning, Mr.
Good
Chavez.
morning.
So, Mr. Moya, good morning. Is Mr. Harkin available by phone?
Morning, Mr. Chavez. I believe so. If it's 505-822, if that's his phone number.
And is he on the line now, or do we have to wait for him to come on the line?
He is on the line, but he is muted.
Okay. Well, let's unmute him. It's 9 o'clock, and let's get started.
Can I ask who was that has just a phone number?
Oh, yes. His name is Julian Moya, and he's our technical expert. He deals with all
the person that you were just asking about, the 505.
Mr. Harkin. I believe his first name is William Harkin, if I'm not mistaken. I will have him enter an appearance for the record. He is the appellant, Ms. Fella.
Okay.
Good morning to you, too.
And Rachel, what's your last name, please? You're muted.
Sorry. Solis,
Solis.
S as in Sam, A-L-A-S.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Chavez, let me know whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's get started. Mr. Harkin, are you on the line?
He's gone.
Mr. Chavez looks like he just dropped off.
Okay. Will you try and get him back on, Mr. Moya, or?
Yeah, I'll
Good.
see if he comes back. As soon as he starts to come back, I'll let him back in.
Thank you so much. How's everybody today?
Wonderful.
Good.
Good morning, Mr. Chavez. That's Lorena.
Good morning, Ms. Patton Quintana. How are you?
Wanted to let you know I was here. I'm like trying to put sound buffers up in my cubicle so it doesn't interrupt the hearing.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that.
Of
No,
course.
I saw you on the list, so.
Very good.
Mr. Moya, is it, would it be too difficult for you to call him, or does he have to call in?
Mr. Chavez, yeah, he has to call in to the Zoom meeting. There's kind of no way to dial out on this.
Right. Okay. Could you send Mandy a text or something, communicate with Mandy, asking her to perhaps call him to get him to call in?
Looks like here he comes again.
Oh, good.
Yes, I was trying to actually get a hold of him, but I wasn't getting through, maybe because he was trying to call in.
Oh, good. Mandy, I'm sorry. I didn't see you are on the list. Thank you.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Is Mr. Harkin now on?
Yeah, he is on, Mr. Chavez, but he's still muted. Mr. Harkin, if you can hear us, you have to unmute. There's a button that you'll have to hit to unmute yourself. I'm sending a request to you to ask to unmute, but you'll have to hit that number. Oh, you have to hit that button.
Sounds like it's a number on your dialing pad, Mr. Harkin. Mr. Moya, can you verbally tell Mr. Harkin what number he needs to hit on his pad?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now to make sure I'm giving him the right directions.
Okay.
Do you want me to go check and see if I'm fairly computer savvy. You want me to go check on him?
He's not using a computer.
Oh,
He's using his telephone. He has a landline. Apparently, he doesn't have a computer.
okay.
So Mr. Harkin, if you can hit *6, or maybe just the numeral 6, that might unmute you on your end.
Looks
Looks
like we
like he
just
left
lost
again.
one participant.
Yeah,
I
looks
think
like he
it-
left again.
Well, let me go shout for him and I'll just tell him you have to hit 6. Stand by.
Thank you. Ms. Fella, are you still with Williams and Associates? Or are you
Yes.
independent?
Williams, still with Williams.
Good.
Never mind.
You
Just-
folks did a very quick transcript for me in over the weekend, actually.
Oh.
So I'm very, very grateful for Williams and Associates.
Court reporters all work weekends. It's part of our life.
Sure, right. Well, please pass that along to Miss Williams. I think she's the one that actually put together the transcript over the weekend.
Oh. Okay, I'll let her-
I sent it to you folks Friday, and I got it back Monday. And oh boy, because I had a hearing that it was kind of an emergency situation,
Oh.
and so very grateful.
I'll let her know.
Thank you.
Maybe he's inside. Let's check. I don't think he's talking to me at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your effort, Miss Salas.
No problem.
Mandy, is there a way you can maybe perhaps
Actually-
call him on the phone?
Actually, I have him on the line right now. We just connected, so I'm going to try and help him out.
Oh, good. Thank you so much.
Sure, let's see. Hopefully soon.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Okay, so he's calling back right now and we're gonna try. He says, Julian, that hitting 6 disconnects him. He hit *6 and that disconnected him. So now he's gonna try #6.
Okay. That's weird.
Yeah, it's new. I've never dealt with having to call in like this, so I have no idea.
Well, in the last, what, 14 months of doing this, this is really the first serious technical difficulty we've had. So I think that's pretty good.
Yes, and he feels really bad.
Oh, no, he shouldn't. It happens.
It's interesting. I know he has a computer.
He did mention that he has a computer, but it doesn't have anywhere. He told
Oh,
me,
no web.
yes, he said there was nowhere for him to plug in headphones and he can't hear sound from it. So he said that wasn't an option.
Apparently the #6 didn't work either. Wait, Mandy, let me propose this. Can you call him? And is there a way to sort of patch him in through your phone?
Oh, like when you call, you can do a 3-way call? Yes.
Right.
We had thought about that yesterday. We were unable to test it, but I
He'll
can
still need
definitely
audio.
try that. Yes.
Yeah, he'll still need the audio for this, right?
Yes. So it's just a matter of finding out how to unmute him.
Mr. Moya, is there perhaps another process that he can use for unmuting?
No, just looking at the Zoom website, it says it's *6 to toggle mute and unmute, and then *9 to raise hand. So I would assume that those should work for him.
I wonder if that's for a cell phone instead of a hard line.
Let me see if I can find the distinction here.
So I'm showing here that the host can mute everybody and then unmute everybody. So as soon as he's on, if you mute and then unmute us.
So for the phones, you like allow them to speak and that kind of patches them into the meeting room. And then I can't unmute him essentially. I can only ask to unmute. So I would send him that and it should give him instructions on how to unmute once I do that, but I'm not sure if that's not happening on his end.
Well, let's wait another 10 minutes at the very most, and then we may need to reschedule this.
Okay. Oh, there, he's calling me. Hold on 1 second. Okay, Mr. Harkin is calling in again. He says every time he tries to unmute using the numbers we've given him, it disconnects. So he has to dial back. So he calls me first to ask, what do I do? So he's going to call back into the meeting.
Okay.
And he can hear us.
He can hear us, but it sounds
Yes.
like you can hear him when he calls you personally.
Yes, when he calls my desk phone, I'm able to, the call connects. And when he calls into Zoom, he says he can hear all of us. He just can't figure out how to unmute himself.
Would it be an inconvenience, Mandy, if when he calls into you, if you could maybe patch him into the audio of your computer?
Sure. How, Julian, how would I do that?
Just kind of thinking through, maybe I can, because Mandy's in a much more open space of our office. I have the ability to close my door, so maybe I can put him on speakerphone on my office phone and kind of just set him up near my speakers and microphone and kind of go through that. There may be some issues with like feedback and weird kind of audio, but I mean, it's something that we can try.
Okay, and if not, we can reschedule this, I suppose. I'd prefer not to, but since we're all here,
Yes.
let's
Julian,
try
want to try that?
Yeah, we'll try that. Man, do you want to come to my office real quick and we'll can kind of figure it out?
Yep, I'll be right there.
Thanks.
I sure hope the era of Zoom ends soon.
We'll start doing more in person and then it stops again. So
I had a small jury trial recently, and cross-examining a witness that's wearing a mask is not a good thing for a jury.
I think you missed a lot.
Yeah, their facial, that tells a lot more than
Yes, yeah.
interesting.
Mr. Harkin, this is Julie Moy. I'm going to be calling you from my office phone. Oh, there he goes. Mr. Chavez, we're going to try calling him now and setting him up through my office phone.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Chavez, I have Mr. Harkin here on my speakerphone. Mr. Harkin, can you give us kind of just a test?
Yes, this is Mr. Harkin testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Thank you.
8.
Thank you. Mr. Chavez, how did that sound on your end?
I could hear it just fine. Miss Salas, could you hear Mr. Harkin?
Yes.
Miss Fella, could you hear Miss Harkin? Mr.
Yes,
Harkin?
I can
Okay,
hear him
good.
fine.
Good.
Mr. Harkin, could you hear them?
Yes, I can hear them.
Oh, good. And we will all speak up, Mr. Harkin, so that you can hear. Let's get started, okay? Okay.
One
My
second,
name is
Mr.
Stephen
Harkin.
Chavez.
Hold on one
Today's
second, Mr.
date
Chavez.
is November 4th,
Mr.
2021.
Chavez, can you hold on one second? Just hold on one second. Mr. Harkin,
Yes.
why don't you go ahead and turn off the YouTube because I think that'll just be confusing because it's going to be too far in a delay.
I've got it turned off.
Okay, great.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay. So
Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
thank you. Today's date is November 4th, 2021, and I'm Stephen Chavez, the Land Use Hearing Officer for the City Council.
Thank you.
This is a time-sensitive quasi-judicial administrative appeal hearing from a decision of the zoning hearing examiner. The case number is AC-21-14. Mr. Harkin, please state your full name and enter your appearance for our record.
Full name is William Harkin.
Okay, thank you so much. And Ms. Salas, you are here. Please state your full name and enter your appearance for the record.
Rachel Salas, S-A-L-A-S.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a certified court reporter here who's going to be transcribing this hearing. This hearing is also available on the city's YouTube channel. I note that Mr. Harkin has submitted supplemental evidence to the record. I've accepted that evidence because it is essentially the same photographs that he submitted earlier. Ms. Salas, before I ask you any questions, and Mr. Harkin, please both of you raise your right hand so that I can swear you in. Thank you. Let me know when, each of you, let me know when your hands are both raised.
Harkin's ready.
Thank you so much. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and only the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Thank you so much. Okay. And are there any other preliminary matters that we need to take care of? Ms. Salas, do you have a copy of the supplemental evidence?
I do.
Thank you so much. Mr. Harkin, are there any preliminary matters that you would like me to address before I get started allowing you to make your argument?
Not at this time.
Okay. So, Mr. Harkin, go ahead and make your argument. I can hear you fine.
Okay. Since I'm unable to see you, thank you for putting up with this method of doing things. I realize it's strange and it's really late. I'll try to get through this as rapidly as I can. If I get going too fast, please slow me down and we'll give it however long it takes. My first area of appeal is that the homeowner failed to provide any relevant information required by the IDO with respect to front walls over 3 feet high within a specific area. On page 22 of the appeal package, this IDO paragraph is referenced, as well as the homeowner's application, pages 61 and 62 of the appeal packet. During the application process, the ZHE office provided the applicant with a map, including instructions showing what was required. There are at least 2 times after the initial application that this homeowner could have changed or added to these and did not. Once during the second application submission and also during the August 17th ZHE hearing. There were also multiple times when the ZHE could have requested additional information or challenged the submission and yet did not do so. I understand my exhibits have been accepted into the record. I'm going to now go through the pictures that were submitted by the applicant and compare them to my exhibits. When requested, please display what I request for you all to see and leave them up until I ask you to move on to the next one. Please display page 56 of the appeal packet. When it's up, please let me know.
Mr. Chavez, this is Julie Moya. I don't have the appeal packet, but I do have the kind of exhibits that Mr. Harkin sent.
Okay, Mr. Harkin, we are not going to display the pages of the record. What we will do is only display your supplemental evidence that you submitted to the city. Everybody should have a copy of the record. And if you cite to the page of the record, I can see it on my own screen, okay?
Okay, so what I will do then is Exhibit A, which is I'm seeing you probably have up now, is the same wall as the applicant submitted on page 56 of one of their applications. this is a wall that is located between a property and a water runoff area. Note the number on the mailbox. That is the address of this property. It is 8609 Democracy Road Northeast. Please show Exhibit B. That's my Exhibit A again.
Exhibit B is being shown on the screen, Mr. Harkin.
Okay, if you got Exhibit B up, this is page 57 of the appeal package, the picture that the homeowner submitted. Note that on the street, painted on the curb is a property number. That property number is 7623. The address is 7623 Pioneer Trail Northeast. Please show Exhibit C1. When it's up, let me know.
It is up, Mr. Harkin.
Okay, this is the same wall that it's in the homeowner's display, page 58. Please note the vehicles that are parked in both the side yard and the driveway. Now please show me my Exhibit C2. When it's up, let me know.
It's up, Mr. Harkin.
Okay, this is the picture of the wall from the other side. Note that the vehicles in the side yard and the driveway are the same. This exhibit shows the street number painted on the curb. That number is 8915. This wall is a wall that's between 8909 and 8915 Yankee Drive Northeast. Please display my Exhibit D. When it's up, let me know.
It is up, Mr. Harkin.
Okay, this is the same picture as is on page 58 of the appeal packet. This is a side yard depicted, and if you look closely at the trees in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see street signs which show both Yankee and Executive. The property itself address is at 8915 Yankee Drive Northeast. It is the east side wall of the same property pictured in picture 3. By IDO definition, this is not a front yard wall and should have caused the ZHE to question at least this photo. The ZHE did not do so. At least there is nothing in the record to show the ZHE questioned this. And that's from their transcripts on pages 131 through 139 of the appeal packet. Page 55 of the appeal packet, which you're not going to display, although I would like you to, is a map that the ZHE provided to the homeowner during the application process. Although the map is not required by the IDO, I believe the map and the instructions on it show the minimum standard that the ZHE expected the homeowner to submit to meet the IDO requirement. Please also note there are no locations marked on this map. The only location marked is the homeowner's property. I believe that any fifth grader in school should be able to read and understand these instructions, and if confused, ask questions. This homeowner has at least this level of education.
Mr. Harkin, Mr. Harkin, Mr. Harkin, stop. Mr. Harkin, Mr. Harkin, please stop a minute. I will not allow you to disparage anybody in this hearing, okay? So let's not make it that personal. Go ahead.
Okay. In addition, the homeowners submitted a plot plan which shows the dimensions of their lot, which is page 60 of the appeal packet. I believe that this homeowner should have been able to figure out where 330 feet is. In subsequent instructions, the homeowner was supposed to label each picture on the front of the property with the property address and mark the location on the map. The homeowner's pictures, the ones we just looked at, and I referenced are not labeled with the address, and the ZHE provided map is not marked showing their location. In my opinion, this should have caused the ZHE to question all these submittals. Again, from what I can tell from the record, the ZHE did not do so. Page 29 of the appeal packet is a map of the same area that I generated, showing where these pictures the homeowner submitted actually are located. The 4 pictures, P1 through P4, are the 4 pictures in the order that we've been have just looked at them. From the location, it is obvious that none of these are within the area required by the IDO. In my comments provided to the ZHE, dated the June 1 before the first hearing, which is page 68 of the appeal packet, 4th paragraph down, and my comments dated August 9th before the second hearing, page 119 of the appeal packet, 2nd page down, I stated that none of these pictures were within 300 feet of the subject property. I made these statements because I was able to walk the area designated in the ZHE map, and none of the wall pictures existed within it. In my opinion, this should also cause the ZHE to question these submittals. The ZHE did not do so, at least there is nothing in the record to show they did. At the time I wrote these comments, I had not been able to locate all the pictured walls. I finally located all of them after the August 17th hearing. My second basis of appeal, in my June 1 and August 9 comments provided to the ZHE, I questioned the appropriateness of this wall on page 68 and page 119 of the appeal packet. I realize this part of the IDO is very subjective, but in this instance, it is obvious to me that this existing wall does not blend in with the area, or is it consistent with other similar walls, which there are none in the area. In addition, it does not strengthen or reinforce the architectural character of the surrounding area. On page 30 of the appeal package, this picture shows the wall of the property just east of it. The property just east of it has an adjoining wall that is cement block and has had a white, smooth stucco coating applied to it, the same as the wall between the house and the property wall. If you look closely, just right of the blue sign in the middle of the picture, you can see the end of it. The brown wall just left of center of this picture is the wall in question. The front of this property and part of the east wall of this house is also shown in this picture. The area surrounding the garage door is a light tan, smooth stucco, and the left front side of the house is a brick veneer. The subject wall is dark brown wall with a very rough finish. Page 98 of the appeal package shows this extremely rough texture. On page 122 of the appeal packet, the picture shows the east side of the subject property up close. This is a light tan with a smooth stucco finish, just like the area surrounding the garage door. In my opinion, these contrasting colors and textures do not complement the area and do not blend in at all. This wall is located at the sidewalk. In the pictures on page 31 and 32, note that all the front walls you can see are open to the sidewalk. There are no walls at the sidewalk. These walls on page 31 and 32, the first one looks south on Republican, the second one looks west down Democracy. In the first picture, the property is at my back. In the second picture, the property is to my right. Part of the property where the wall is located is shown in the foreground just on the right of the picture. In my opinion, this makes this wall stand out like a sore thumb and has no place in this neighborhood. Thank you for the other questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Harkin. Ms. Salas, do you have any questions? And I'll give you a chance to make an argument, but this is your opportunity now to cross-examine, essentially asking Mr. Harkin questions. And if you don't have any questions, that's okay. You don't have to. ask Mr. Harkin questions, but I want to give you the opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Harkin regarding his testimony.
Well, I will say the houses, when I obviously am not the sharpest tool in the shed. So I did have several questions regarding the application. This is my first time having dealt with this, so I was not clear on what to do. So yes, I did call and ask questions, and I even asked, do I include?
Ms. Ellis, I apologize for interrupting you, but again, you can make an argument, but I wanted to first give you the opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Harkin. That is asking him questions.
Oh,
And
yeah.
again, if you don't have any questions for Mr. Harkin, that's okay. We hold on. We can move into your argument. So would you like to ask questions of Mr. Harkin, or would you like to just move into your argument?
Yes, I would like to ask questions.
Okay.
Bill, were you able to obtain permission from the homeowners to share their address?
Mr. Harkin, before you answer that, Ms. Salas, that's not an appropriate question. I don't think it's relevant for this hearing. I think that under law, he could take photographs of people's homes. So I just wanted to, let's move on to the next question.
Sure. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Salas, now this is your opportunity to make an argument to me. So go right ahead. I understand this is new to you.
Yes. Okay. So yes, I asked, how do I fill out this form? Because it felt like it was very vague. But what I was told was to just go around the neighborhood. I didn't know there was a particular footage that I had told her there's nothing in my exact street that has my setup. There's only one cul-de-sac in my neighborhood, and that's my cul-de-sac. So when I asked, she said, just go around and see if you can find a wall similar. So that's what I had done. I told her, do I include the addresses? And she said, no. And I said, yes, this is a privacy issue, where the wall that was built that I built was for privacy. It's an RV pad, but it's a very odd RV pad. It used to, like in the middle of it, there was a pony wall. So yes, you could put an RV there, but it was a very tiny RV. You could fit maybe a small car there, not an actual RV, but the pony wall just let like passerbyers jump my wall. And from my wall is the ditch. And you wouldn't believe the traffic that it finds. So yes, I built the wall for a little bit of privacy, some safety. I asked every single person in this block. I did not know that you needed a variance or permission to get this done. This was my fault. I'm in construction, so I should know a little bit better. I've also remodeled my house. I added a garage. When I wanted to add a garage, Bill was also very, very upset that I wanted to better my house. I haven't a clue why. It seems like everything I do upsets him. If I add a retaining wall, I had a wood retaining wall in my backyard, and it was starting to collapse. The wood was starting to break. So I needed to replace it. I didn't want to replace it with wood. I replaced it with brick. He lost his mind.
Okay, Ms. Ellis, I'm going to admonish you the same way I admonished Mr. Harkin. Let's try and keep this more professional and less personal.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just don't, I'm not sure how to, I guess, I thought if it's your house, you can make improvements. He's scared away every last gardener. I'm a single female, so I have to have maintenance men here, gardeners. He will call the authorities on them. It's
Ms. Ellis, that's not relevant here. That might be relevant in another venue, but we're dealing with just the land use question of whether or not the wall should have been approved.
Okay, understood. I guess that's all I have then.
I have a couple of questions for you. The first question is, when did you construct that front yard wall?
August of 2020.
My next question is, you saw the evidence that Mr. Harkin presented to me in this appeal. Do you dispute the locations of those lots, those 4 lots?
No.
Okay, so you stipulate to that evidence essentially.
Well, there is no wall within the space given, so I didn't know what else to submit.
Okay, so is that a yes? You
Yes.
agree? You're not challenging the evidence that he submitted?
Not
Okay,
at all.
thank you. Mr. Harkin, do you have any questions for Ms. Salas? Now, before you ask her questions, let's not keep this personal. I don't want it to be personal, and I want it to be only relevant to the issues in this appeal, okay? Do you have any questions for Ms. Harkin? I mean, Ms. Salas.
I don't have any questions for her.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Patton Quintana, I have some questions for you. May I swear you in?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, please raise your right hand and let me know.
My right hand is raised.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and only the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Yeah, I've reviewed this record very closely. I'm a little concerned that there were 2 administrative methods for the variance that were reviewed and that were required to in separate applications. Can you explain to me why the ZHE required 2 separate variance methods for the same wall?
Yes, sir. This isn't a requirement of the ZHE himself, but it was imposed as a procedural mechanism from the city that it be required that applicants apply for both a permit wall or fence, as well as a variance for walls that do not meet the requirements in table, I think it's 572. The
571.
Well, 572 is a low density wall.
Okay.
You can go up to 5 feet with 2 feet of view fencing. So if it's limited by that table and it goes over that 5 feet to a 6-foot wall or maybe a solid wall, then a call was made back in March 17th of 2021. I specifically requested a ruling on that, if we really needed to take both, because if you, after reviewing the IDO section 57B 3 and 5, they kind of differ. So I wasn't comfortable defining it myself, making the call. So I asked about that. So that's how that determination was made.
I agree that there's an inconsistency between the development standards for taller walls. But I guess my question is more focused on under 6-6H is essentially the variance process for taller walls in low density residential developments.
Yes.
And then there's 6-60, which is the general variance criteria. Now, the general variance criteria was established a long time ago, and it's been continued in the updates. But under 6-6-H, that's a relatively new variance process, and it's very specific to this application. Whereas the general process is very general. It's not for walls; it's for all kinds of variances. But 6-6H is for specifically walls that are taller in a low density residential neighborhood. And so I guess, is it what you're telling me that 6-6, the general variance process was used for the wall because the wall didn't have the transparency questions and the transparency criteria met in the development standards? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
And listening to some of the dialogue at the meetings, was desired to prove special circumstance if you go over the 5-foot limit.
Well, now that doesn't make sense to me, because I thought you just agreed with me that the general variance criteria was used not because of the height of the wall, because 66H deals with the height of the wall in a low density residential zone. And it's specific for that issue. If
Yes.
you want a taller wall than 3 feet, you go to 66H, which was reviewed by the ZHE and which was basically the first basis of appeal with Mr. Harkin's case. Essentially, that's the 20% 330-foot rule, if I may call it that.
Yes.
But then the ZHE also reviewed the wall under the general variance standard. And I guess I'm wondering why he did that, because we already have a process for a taller wall in this specific situation. And my only theory, essentially, of why the ZHE did that was because not only did the wall need a variance for the height, but it seems as though it needed a variance for other issues. For example, it wasn't set back 10 feet as required under the development standards, and it didn't have the transparency issues that are required under the development standards of the
That's
IPO.
correct. And I may be mistaken, but I think in listening to the dialogue that it was also to include residential walls that were over the 5-foot height limit per table 572.
But you can't use 572 because you have to have the wall set back 10 feet to meet 572. So 572 is inapplicable here. I guess that's the conundrum I'm curious about. And it seems to me, and I get that the IDO is exceptionally conflated and confusing when it comes to dealing with walls in residential zones. I've seen it time and time again. But my concern is that the ZHE is using two separate processes for the same set of facts. And, in criminal law, and I know you don't know this, in criminal law, you can't do that. You have to use the more specific standard if there's two conflicting standards for the same crime, essentially. And so,
Got it.
and under land use law, there's a similar rule. It's called the specific general rule, I think. I haven't looked it up yet, but I thought that the court in Albuquerque Commons cited it when they were dealing with attorney's fees against the city in the Albuquerque Commons case, the third iteration of that. And they essentially said that you need to look at this under only one set of rules if two sets of rules might be applicable. So I guess my concern, and I'm going to try and dive into this issue for the city council, but it seems to me that because the city council enacted the more specific criteria in 66H, dealing with this very specific set of circumstances that we have here, that criteria is only applicable. And the general variance criteria is inapplicable unless it can be shown that it's applicable to the development issues, the transparency of the wall, and the setback of 10 feet. But again, the wall isn't set back 10 feet, so that was not an issue here.
Yes.
And that ZHE didn't clarify these things. So, I would respectfully urge you to speak to the ZHE that these two separate standards should not be used. Of course, it's the ZHE, it's the city council who will ultimately judge this issue. But my opinion is that you shouldn't use two separate sets of standards to review one circumstance. It seems to be a violation of due process of some sorts.
Very good. I do appreciate that. And I believe that under 57B3, that the permit will also allow for location, height, and design elements that are different, and the permit prevails. So it wouldn't be necessary then to have the variance as well.
Right, you don't need
Okay,
the
well,
general
thank you so
variance
much.
here. Yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion. Now, again, it needs to be reviewed by the city council. I'm actually going to make a recommendation to the city council. I don't know, not in this matter, it's probably inappropriate, but to change the IDO to deal with this circumstance, because I see that the planning department is struggling, and there is a conflict, an inconsistency in dealing with the development standards and what variance criteria should be applied in this very narrow set of circumstances. So,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Harkin, do you have any questions for Ms. Patton-Quintana?
No.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Salas, do you have any questions for Ms. Patton-Quintana?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, Ms. Patton-Quintana, respectfully, in the instructions to the applicant, Ms. Salas, I noticed that you wrote any walls, take photographs of any walls, and that's always kind of concerned to me, because there's criteria for just front yard walls and there's criteria for just side yard walls. And obviously the front yard wall criteria was applicable. And in that criteria, it specifically requires that front yard walls taller than 3 feet are basically qualify for the analysis. And so I would strongly urge you to change that instruction to, in the future, for either front yard or side yard, not any walls, because any walls are not applicable here. Does that make sense? You're muted, Ms. Patton-Quintana.
I'm muted. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. The admin assistant put that together to kind of help the public along, but I will look at that today and correct it.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, there's a pattern here in these appeals. I've heard many applicants testify when we deal with this issue that the instructions are confusing.
Yes, sir. I should have caught it, but I'll fix it now.
Thank you so much. Okay, I don't have any questions for Ms. Salas. Any more questions? Mr. Harkin, you can follow up now with a closing argument, essentially, if you would like.
I would. In summary, I believe that I've clearly demonstrated that the wall pictures submitted are not relevant and were intentionally included by the homeowner in their variance submissions. That the ZHE failed to perform their duties by not questioning the applicant about these pictures, which clearly did not meet the IDO requirement or the ZHE map and instructions. Since none of the homeowners submitted pictures are valid, the IDO requirement is not met. I also believe that this wall is an eyesore and should be completely removed. Should the homeowner desire a wall that is 3 feet or less in this location, it must be reconstructed with a different finish in compliance with code and the covenants imposed on this property. Even if another permit for a wall at or under 3 feet is sought, this wall, even reduced in height, in my opinion, is not appropriate or consistent with this neighborhood. For the reasons I have given, these variants should never have been approved in the first place and must be reversed. They are also dependent on one another. If one is denied, both must be. I also believe that remand is not a valid option in this case, since the ZHE, in my opinion, failed to do their due diligence in the first place. No new information is pertinent that would clarify or supplement this record. This has been going on for over a year and needs to be resolved now.
Okay.
I would like to thank the staffs at both the ZHE office and the city council offices for their quick, accurate, and assistance-driven attitudes. Thank you all. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Harkin. Okay, so I'm going to, for both of your edification, I'm going to draft a recommendation to the city council. It's only a recommendation. I will send it out within 2 weeks. I think I have 15 days to send it out to the city council. Ms. Salas, I have your email address, and I will send it to you and the city staff. And Mr. Harkin, do you have an email address, or do you want the city? Okay, so it's in the record. Okay, good. Okay, I will get that out within 2 weeks, and thank you so much. Enjoy your day, folks.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye. We're off the record.